Alright, hey guys, back here again, coming with another new video. I'm still working on my part 2 of my support meta guide thing. It's supposed to be like a lengthier look at like all the contenders teams, so like across multiple regions, so it's taking like a while to collect all the clips and then talk about it. But I had an idea and I've been kind of thinking about player health as of recently. So it's kind of a encompassing subject, and forgive me for this weird camera angle. I've got new monitors and I'm trying to figure out where to put my camera, so you'd be more dog cam. But player health. So there's a couple of different things that I like want to talk about, like that kind of cover player health. So some of them being like having young players getting offered contracts, having players understand what contracts are and like what they actually mean as like a whole holistic thing, not just oh, I got a contract, this is the best thing, because a lot of them are actually pretty damaging to players. Um, Players' health in the fact that they can. I think I'm more so thinking like health as in being healthy as well. So like being a healthy community figure. So having someone who's like super toxic, who's a booster, who's racist, things like that, are not healthy. And then having them understand how important media is and social media and streaming and things like that. So I'll go bit by bit and then I'll talk about like my thoughts on them and then what I've done from my point of view for players. So with all the teams I've basically taken seriously, one of the first things that I've told them, and like I've done this, and you can ask some of the players that I've worked with, that is, you need to have a resume. You need to have an esports resume. That's important. So if a team offers you something, or if it's a new offer, or if it's a good offer, you want to have a resume because you want to have something, you want to have proof, and you want to have them to be able to like be like thorough and check over all the things, and you want them to know that you're committed. So having an esports resume with your name, your email address, your stream, any videos that you might have done that you really enjoyed making or that you think that other people would enjoy and that would like be a good showing of your character or your skills, interviews that you've done that you can link on there, all the past teams that you've been with, so that they can show like your history, how committed you've been, any good accomplishments that you have in esports, so winning titles, staying consistently at a high level, your solo queue rating if it's like really good, just all things like that. So like resumes are like really important. I've told players you just got to power through it. I know it's a pain in the ass because you got to make that, and you probably have one for work outside of esports as well. But keeping your esports resume up to date is actually super important. And another thing on that, I guess it kind of ties in, but like making yourself healthy and look like a good figure is keeping your social media clean. So I know a lot of people will say some whack shit outside of online, like just to their friends. They'll say some like pretty edgy jokes and things like that, but you have to keep your social media clean because big orgs do not want to have racist remarks come out about their players later because they're going to have to fire you because there's going to be problems with sponsors and they don't want the sponsors to drop because they'll lose money, and so they'll have to end up dropping players, and they just don't want to have any of that. So you have to keep your social media clean. You don't want to have racist remarks. You don't want to have making fun of women, the sexism, making fun of people's gender, their sexual orientation, any of that stuff. Like you just got to keep that straight clean. Doesn't matter if you want to like trash talk people and be mean, that's fine as long as it's not on that edge of being out there. But if you aren't like a clean player, as I'm saying, some teams are just going to overlook you because they're going to be like, is this guy worth the risk? Is he worth the risk of potentially getting fined later in the league? Potentially having sponsors not wanting to like come on part because they think that this guy is racist or something. So it's really important that you keep that clean because that's something that a lot of times can't be erased. So if you're labeled as something, it's going to stick with you for a long time. Even if you really didn't mean it, you just have to keep it clean. Another thing on that is making sure you don't do bad stuff in game, because there's been players who've been found to be boosters. Koreans hate boosters. Win traders, match fixers, being toxic in game and throwing games and being potentially banned in game, being racist and things like that in game. All that stuff, that's just a no-go. You can't do any of that. If you have some of that and then it comes out later, you're going to be fucked in the future and it's not going to look good for you because we're we're in like this building stage. So say you're like a new player and you're trying to like build your reputation and build your way up. If you are fucking up on your building stages, then once you actually finally do make it, you're going to regret all your past decisions where you fucked up because you're going to be like, "Yes, I finally made it into Owl. Oh shit, everything that I did before that was like really edgy is now coming out and now I'm getting fined. I'm not able to play in the league." Just shit like that. It's just like you have to keep that clean. You have to treat this like a job, like you're trying to move up the ladder. And if you fuck yourself over really early on the ladder, you could affect yourself in the future. I guess something additional to social media is keeping it clean in the fact that you want to be a presentable person. So, say, like, if you want to get sponsored by an org or something, they're going to look through your Twitter and they're going to look through everything. And you want to have good engagement. I guess this isn't as much on the clean, but just being like an active member on social media. So, like, if you have a lot of followers, if you have a lot of tweets and you get a lot of interactions, then it's going to be a good sign for you than another player who maybe isn't as popular, but he's like at a similar level as you, because maybe an org's going to look in like two players and they're going to be like, there's this relatively unknown guy. His skill's pretty good. We really like him. He's a good shot caller and stuff. But there's this other guy who's basically same level as him, but he's got like 20,000 Twitter followers, and like I think he could really help with like our social media presence. They're going to be like, if you're on the edge, that's going to give you the leg up than on the other guy. The other guy is just way behind on social media, and he's never going to be able to catch up to you at that point. So keeping a clean, active social media, big plus. Keeping an active stream schedule and working on streams, YouTube videos, doing interviews and that such will pay massive dividends to you in the future, because those big orgs looking for new players, sometimes they pick unknown players, but if they can get a big name player, even if he isn't the best player, but he's got like good work ethic, he's a strong like media presence, so he's good at doing interviews, he's good at talking, he can make videos. Going to be a huge boom for these teams that are trying to pump out content themselves and like make themselves popular by just making content and keeping fans happy and giving fans interactions and stuff. So they're going to look forward to having like a player like that in the future. And then what else was there? I think that's it. I guess there was more like on contracts and stuff. I'm not sure if I went over it enough, like thoroughly, but like I think when you're coming up as a player, there's a lot of opportunities for contracts that may look appealing. So I can maybe give some examples, not call out any teams or anything, but I've seen contracts before where they don't actually pay you anything, but they will take a part of your money you'd be earning. So say from contenders, trials, not Owl, but maybe they do. I'm not sure exactly. But it's an org that would basically take some of your prize money and then you'd have a buyout, and then they wouldn't also pay you anything. They would just give you sponsored gear, which in reality is pretty fucking garbage. Because a lot of times the money you'd be earning would pay for all the sponsored stuff that you'd be getting, that you'd get to keep later on. A lot of times some of these contracts is literally just, while you're under the team, you can have this sponsored gear, and then as soon as you're off the team, you got to give it back. Which kind of sucks, but I think you could like probably like save some of the money that you're making from playing in a league or getting money from like prize money, and then just buy that stuff yourself that you can keep, and then you wouldn't have your buyout being ridiculous when you're like a mid-tier player that like no team's going to buy you out, so you just lock yourself into contract prison. I think it's important that we have more people out there willing to look out for players, because I've seen a lot of players sign contracts that are straight garbage, and they were at that point where they don't have a lawyer and they want someone to look over it, but they don't really have anyone. Maybe they have a family member who isn't as in tune with what like some terms mean, or they aren't really like the best judges of like what a contract means in esports, and so they end up just like not giving the best like actual legal advice to these players who maybe are just 16 to 18 or 16 to like 20, and they don't really have any experience with contracts and knowing all these terms, and so they end up signing things that in their own minds are like, wow, I finally made it. I'm an esports player. I've signed a contract. I'm like, I've made it. But a lot of times these contracts are just really, really bad, and they make the mistake and then they aren't able to reverse it. And sometimes it can really damage their careers because they won't be able to move from team to team. While other players in a similar position to them didn't sign the contract and are now on better teams because they didn't have to sign anything and they're not held back by these contracts anymore. So I think it's important if you are a player who's actually needs someone to look over a contract, you can contact me at Rexer on Twitter, and then it's my Discord. It's Rexer. What is the numbers? 4562. Yeah. If you need someone to contact, I've gone over player contracts before. I've gone over my own contracts because I have lawyer friends if I need to, if I don't understand something. Like I have a good friend who's a lawyer who can actually look it over. And then I've gone over enough contracts myself that I basically understand the gist of most of them and what they're actually implying. And I can, like, you send me the contract, I can basically bullet point it. You don't need to pay me, it's fine. I'm trying to like look out for players, but I'll bullet point what they're offering you, what you need to give them, and like what they're giving back to you. And so I'll just basically explain it to you in plain terms, so then you can decide afterwards, and I'll tell you if it's good or bad. But I think it's important for players to not get swindled and basically just screwed over things that they aren't aware of. So if you are getting offered a contract, talk to an adult, talk to someone you know who's been through more life experience, who's older than you, who's seen contracts before. If you have a friend who's gotten a contract or is in currently a contract, it's very important to go over these things because you do not want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be damaging your career in the future. You want to have a healthy career in the future, and you want to do all these steps to make sure that that's the case, and you don't want to be left behind due to having problems with your contract, due to having problems with being a previous booster, racist, any of these things. You want to actually make sure it's super clean and you'll be ready for the future. And if you follow a lot of these steps, you're going to be in like way better shape than anyone at your level. And I think there isn't a ton of time commitment here. I think it's a lot of just making sure things are in order and then just maintaining them over and over again. Because like streaming and doing social media is probably things that you already do, but if you just do them in the right way, they'll appear better. And then you have to put like the time commitment in to like do a resume, maybe do an interview here and there, make videos. Maybe that takes a little bit more time, but like the time that you put in will pay off in the long run. And if not, I mean, it's fun to do. Like, it's not like it's playing. It's not the same as that, but I mean, it'll impact your career positively, so it's something that you should be looking to do. And that's about it. So, thanks for watching. Sorry the camera angle is so weird. I have it like propped up on a PC to the side, and I'm like trying to like adjust my head, but also sitting straight. It's really weird. I'm sorry. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, again, you can just message me. If you have any personal questions or need help with contracts or just understanding the landscape and want some guidelines or some help with setting up your future in esports, then you can talk to me because I'm more than willing to help any up and coming players.